Happy hour!
Hey!
Wow, there used to be enthusiasm for happy hour. Is this, am I on the wrong stream?
I'm
Am I
happy.
on the wrong stream?
I'm happy.
Welcome in, everybody, to another wonderful edition of Hit Points Not Required Happy Hour, where we talk a lot of nonsense and eventually get around to maybe some sort of D&D sort of stuff. Today is a very special holiday edition. I'm coming to you live from the wonderful Marriott Marquis in Atlanta, Georgia, where we just wrapped up DragonCon 2024, and all of my compatriots are coming from wherever they come from in the mystery layers in which they live. But how is everybody doing?
I am doing fantastic. Things are good up here in Vancouver. Nothing too interesting happening. We don't have a Dragon Con. We don't have any cons right now.
Also not a holiday today, I imagine.
No. Oh, no, it is a public holiday. It is a public holiday. Are we doing Labor Day-ish stuff? Let me double check. I saw it in my calendar.
It's a very important holiday in Canada for everyone out there.
Looking it up, I'm like, is it
yeah, public holiday, Labor Day in Canada. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Uh-huh.
We have the same Labor Day.
Now we know.
I forgot to take a day off.
Can't even come up with their own holidays.
That's true. It's very true.
Probably celebrate Easter on the same day too. Yeah.
Something stupid like that. Yeah. Yeah.
And they probably copy Christmas as well. It's can't get the New Year's Day, probably the same New Year's Day. It's just. But anyway, what's going on with Violet?
Not much. I'm so excited that this long weekend is almost over. I think I've mentioned before that because I work for myself and I work from home, like days of the week mean nothing to me. Like weekends are not a thing. Like it just means every place else is busy and I don't like it. So yeah, a long weekend, waiting for packages to ship, waiting for payments to process. It's just, I hate it. And I'm so glad it's almost over. So that's my feeling. Also, we talked last time about being excited fall was coming. It's September now. It kind of counts as fall. And so I'm very excited about that as well.
Is that your
That's
preferred
how
season?
Yes, very much.
You have mixed emotions and mixed things going on,
No.
right? Hey, I
mean, well, no, the weekend's over though. This is the end of the Monday. Tomorrow the world will move on again, which is great, and it's September, so those are all good things.
Okay. All good things. Fantastic. Speaking of all good things, we'll go to somebody else because I don't think Rook has anything good to. Maybe there's a chance.
Wow.
Rook, do you have something good for us?
Well,
What's the best meal you've eaten
good.
today?
Oh no.
Well, what is the best meal I had today? I don't even know. I had a soft pretzel at some point during the day, and it felt pretty good compared to dinner anyway. That's neither here nor there. So
No one wants that
agree
story.
with you, Violet, on all accounts, like all weekend long. It's just we've had things that we needed to do and just out and about and an endless slew of other humanity that I did not want to participate in. So
everyone go back to work so
feel
I
that.
can go out.
Exactly.
Run, fuck off, back to work, please.
Yeah. But also, the leaves have started to turn here. And,
Wow, already?
What does that do for
they
mowing?
haven't- What?
What does that do to you for mowing?
Nothing at all. I have no trees in my yard. I have a thin line of trees on the very edge of my property and none on the rest of my
It is a
acreage.
vast expanse of lawn that requires constant maintenance.
But let me tell you, we do have some developments as promised, Clouds. We have some developments on the lawn front.
Oh, here we go.
We got down and broke down and brought the riding mower into the garage. We took the deck off the riding lawn mower. We got the belt that was trashed and stuck in all of the pulleys out and replaced the belt ourselves. Found that clearly, when we had this damn thing serviced in the springtime or the early summer, that they did not at all sharpen the blades that were underneath, and that the blades are completely trash. So we tried to take those off for about 2 hours during the day. And,
That sounds fun.
2009 Toro LX423, not a sponsor. Definitely
First one's free.
did not
First shout
release
out.
the blades. So now I have $60 worth of blades sitting in my garage that I can't use because I don't have a pneumatic air gun to some sort of pneumatic impact to get these rusted bolts off. But the mower works not well. So
It works. It just has shitty blades.
Well, it's not that. So I don't know what the next answer is. I think that the next step is to replace the tension cable, the powertrain cable that makes the pulleys go. I think that it's a little loose and needs to be replaced in order to properly engage the blades so that my shitty blades can at least try to mow my shitty lawn. So that's the plan. And I've done all of this myself because, at the end of the day, it's all mechanical. All you have to do is take it apart and put it back together the same way. You can't really screw it up, right? But
I don't know.
I like that right on the end.
However, the point is that I actually mowed the lawn with the riding lawnmower on Saturday. So
Yesterday
I did
was not
successfully mow the lawn. I sure would
let's go back
like
a
it to
second.
be better. Yeah, I was
Yesterday was
thinking
definitely not
backwards. Yesterday was Sunday, so the
Yesterday
day that I
and
mowed
then-
the lawn was Saturday. You
Then
gotta
a day.
keep up,
Got it,
man.
got it.
This is the fucking lawn saga. You need to
Yeah.
keep up, Chuck.
Take
I know, I'm
notes.
trying. I'm hanging on every word, and there was not a yesterday and then another day. There was just yesterday, Saturday.
I wonder
Anyway, continue, please.
if this is the most thrilling saga that's ever been put.
I
Too
can
strong.
assure you that if you were to go back and rewatch every happy hour, that at least half of them have the fucking lawn saga in them. So
Definitely more than half, for sure.
I can't wait till after the success of Legend of Vox Machina, and when they do Mighty Mine, when they finally ask
Yeah.
us to do an animated series on the lawn
Yeah.
saga.
It's gonna, yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Well, that'll be like the interlude. In every episode, there will be somebody mowing a lawn somewhere, and the lawnmower breaking down or something happening just as you pan a screen. It's sort of like just a little lawn cameo.
It'll
Well,
be okay. Are you old enough to remember the Super Mario Brothers cartoon? But then they had Zelda cartoon just on Fridays. It'll be like the lawn saga will be the special Friday episode.
could do a
let me
lawn
just
one
say
shot.
this. I will say this. This whole saga started after I sent my shit to be serviced and the belt to be replaced, right? So after pulling this belt off,
Previously
it
on
was
lawn saga.
the right size. It was the right size. However, it was like the cheapest belt you could ever imagine. Like the one that I went and bought is 3 times as thick as the one that was on there, even though that it was the appropriate width and length. It was like
So the place you went to is
$5
garbage.
option. Yeah. So that's definitely. But again,
We will leave a link below in the comments. You all can go and give them a 1-star review and explain
Go
why.
ruin their lives
I would
and
never do
destroy
that
their
to
Yeah.
business.
and if you're not looking to like give money to any other cause, we're gonna start a GoFundMe for Rook's thick belt.
So here's the deal, man. It's not about the money at all. It's the principle of I bought this damn mower for $600
about sending a
2 years
message.
ago. I spent
100%.
$400 getting it serviced at the beginning of the year. I refuse to give these motherfuckers another dollar. That's what this is about. It's about the principle and not about the money.
Can I ask a question in here?
Mm-hmm.
You said you sent it to them and spent however much, $400 for them to service the lawnmower and not specifically replace the belt, but do an overall service on
that
the
included it needed a new tire and it also needed a new belt. So that in that $400, those two things were included in that. And I believe they charged me $75 for their $2.50 fucking belt and $75 to put it on. Yeah, I don't remember exactly how much it was, but they also the thing
Next time on Happy Hour, receipts.
The thing is, Jacob, they charged me $75 to come pick the damn thing up from my house and take it back to the store, and the store is less than a mile from my house. So that's where the whole thing. I called them. It mowed once.
Could you ride it there?
And I could. I would not. I think I could. I don't think that I would, but I probably could.
The same.
Anyway.
Probably less than $75 to get it there.
It certainly would. I don't know that anyone would be super happy with me riding a. It's not exactly the fastest of riding mowers.
Not street legal.
Probably not. No, I wouldn't get pulled over for that for sure. Not here in the great state of Kentucky. There's nothing street legal on our roads here. I'm not even sure the streets are fucking street legal here.
In the time that they were doing the servicing, did they like give you a call and say, "Hey, your other shit is messed up over here too for another like $300"?
See, that's what started this whole thing, right? They brought it back to me. I mowed once with it. It mowed. The second time that I went to mow, the damn belt wouldn't engage, right? Like it would engage, it was spinning, but the blades weren't spinning because the belt wasn't gripping tight enough. So I called them and I said, yo, this thing is fucked up, blah, 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 blah. They said, well, it was working when it left here. Did you mow with it? I said, yeah, I mowed with it once.
Oh, you can't do that. That's your problem. You tried to mow with it.
I don't fucking
mow with it.
I don't fucking lie ever. So I told them, yes, I mowed with it once. However, this is the second time I mowed with it and it's not working. Something is wrong. They said, well, we'll come back and get it. It's going to be another $75. I said, you can blow me and move along.
That'll be $75.
Where I'm getting at with that was if they saw that there was a problem, they had to see when they took this belt off. There was like
I agree. They had to know that the blades were not spinning at the right speed, right? Like they weren't spinning fast enough. They weren't engaging properly. They had to know that, or they didn't look, one or the other.
Right. And at that point, they could have said, hey, we've got your thing here. We've taken it apart. But we see this other maintenance issue. It's going to cost you X dollar, X, whatever it is, $500 or whatever it is for us to do this part of the service and upsell you on that. Or they could say, hey, this thing's going to break again, but we're just going to put it back together because we're going to get another $75 in towing fee. And
they did not.
If that's the case.
And will not. But I do think at the end of this mowing year, I do think beginning of next year, I'm probably going to call them and see if they want to come buy it back so I can maybe get like $300 of my $400 service fee back as they buy the mower and I buy a new one that isn't a piece of shit.
Does the mowing year line up with the financial year or Chinese New Year? What's the standard mowing year? Yes,
a standard here. Dude. I think I probably have about 2 mows left. I think maybe 3, depending on the weather. Would be my guess here in Kentucky.
Mowing season probably ends mid-September, early September.
Mid-September, early October, one or the other. That would be my guess.
It's a standard
which
mowing
is observed differently in Canada, from what I understand.
Yeah, where I am, it's either sun scorched, which is ridiculous in Canada to consider something sun scorched and not growing, or caked in water, so it's sloppy slush. The mowing happens between like
It's like
mowing
a 3-week
happens.
period.
Yeah, mowing's like 3 weeks at like the
Mhm.
end of like April, mid-April, 3 weeks in April. It goes pah, like a chia pet, and then you have to mow it down, and then you don't worry about it for the rest of the year.
That's funny.
It's mowing season. It's shoveling season. It's mowing season. It's shoveling season.
So,
Okay.
anyways,
I-
we spent about 6 hours fucking with this mower, but we did get it mowing again. It's limping, but mowing. And I think by fixing the cable, I probably could get another season out of it, but I feel like I would be a bigger winner if I sent it back to this other place and got $300 for it instead, and then went out and bought an actual 0-turn mower or something newer, right?
Something more special.
So I have a couple of
Or
questions.
the goats. I'm still
Or the goats.
saying the
Oh!
goats.
I could definitely
Yeah, yeah.
see you
Yeah.
like with a horde of goats.
A horde.
How
what a
many
plural.
is in a horde
Fucking
of goats?
goats are
Collective noun.
expensive, man. We looked this up on one of the
We've
previous
discussed
happy
this.
hours.
You've got to
Did we?
turn it over. You've got to make money on the goats. That's
You
how
gotta
it
milk the
works.
Goat milk,
Yeah,
goat
but how much do you
cheese.
save on milk?
It's a couple of
Yeah.
years until it's profitable, but it'll work. I'm telling you.
Yeah. It's an investment. It's an investment. But the $300 though, is that after the $75 pickup fee, or are you going to drive it there and say, "Here, $300"?
That's a great question. That's a great question. I
Because
will tell you this.
$225 at the end of the day,
I will
not
go
as worth it.
buy a fucking trailer before I give these people another $75. So one way or another, I will go buy a $700 trailer to put this fucking lawnmower on before I give these people another dollar. So there's that.
Fantastic.
Man, that was a
Great.
long conversation about the lawnmower saga, I feel.
It's
Had to
that was
catch
a big
Jacob
development.
up to speed,
It
so
was a-
there's that,
Yeah.
right? Like, there's
I
that.
mean,
It's a breaking news story.
There was a lot that happened in the lawnmower saga this weekend.
Well, there
We
wasn't
had to
that
go
much.
over it.
how many hours do you honestly think you've spoken about this lawnmower on stream, or how many minutes do you think?
I think it's been almost every happy hour we've spent some amount of time on it.
And
Yeah, I
I would
don't know
say
what
that the
number
time has
we're up
varied
to.
between 5 and 15 minutes per episode, with this one being the
Yeah.
longest, probably. Maybe
Probably.
the
No, the
first
first
one I
one was
bitched a
probably
really
long.
long time. But
Yeah.
so
And
every
there's a
happy
lot of
hour-
goat talk.
I was
You know?
I was going to say we did spend some time on the goats at some point.
I was
significant
researching
amount of
goats
time.
online,
Yeah.
and we were
Like what kind of goats you need to
yeah.
get.
I think probably 2 hours, 2 solid hours at least.
Yeah.
Lawn content.
Lawnmower
Yeah,
We should
saga.
make a super
I
cut
would take
and
the
put it
over on
on
that,
YouTube. We should do that.
Release the lawn cut.
You could even just
Lawn
cut
edit,
all the fucks, like Rook saying "fuck" over and over and over again. These motherfuckers, fuck these people. My $75. Like you could probably just edit all of those together and get a good
$75.
8-minute reel.
For those of you playing Rook Bingo at home that have lawnmower, these motherfuckers, not give them
Goats.
another dime, another
Mhm.
dollar, goats.
And we'll get the old man Sai in there pretty soon.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm sure. Before
One last question, and then we will try and move off of this topic. Although this
this
topic has
riveting
legs.
topic.
This is
It's
definitely
got
our-
so many legs. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's a millipede. But
Oh,
the but did it take you longer to mow the lawn with the limping mower than it did with the battery mower in total?
So
On and off. Yeah.
So that's an interesting question as well. I'm sure that all of our viewers want to
well,
know.
it's a question.
Um,
It's definitely a question.
It is technically a question.
It's technically a question. You
Verified.
don't need to glamorize
Verified.
it.
Check with our second grade teachers that had a question mark. There was an inflection at the end of the
Yeah.
sentence.
So it was much faster mowing One, because the deck is twice as wide as a push mower, but two, it also moves faster than my ass does. So there you go. So it was faster. However, there's other things about using a riding lawnmower, especially one that's not zero turn like the newer models are, right? You have to go back and use a push mower to finish and trim around the house, all that kind of stuff, right? So it is faster to use the riding mower. It's certainly easier as well, obviously. But more importantly, I don't have to recharge the battery in between because it's not that it takes super long to mow the lawn with the battery operated push mower. It's that I have to stop halfway through and charge the battery, or God forbid, I wait too long. Then I have to stop 3 times and charge the battery. So.
Yeah. Are you a final question from me? Jacob from Geometry and Lawns Weekly. Mr. McVellum. Are you a... I remember very early in my life learning how to mow from my dad, who would be like, okay, you want to follow this line and then take this line, and then you have a set path. I'm not even going to question that. You obviously have a set path, but is it start on the outside, work your way in? Is it lines up and down? Is it free form?
So my own
freeform would be really interesting.
My own father, years and years ago, also taught me how to mow the lawn, and he always stressed how important it was to change it up. Right? If you did the rectangle coming or the circles coming into the center of the lawn, he stressed that you should crisscross the lawn or something the next time, do a diagonal line the next time, because if you didn't change the path that you were mowing, the grass would grow.
Gets
like the grass would not like it in some kind of way. So that
it would somehow upset the grass.
That being said, concentric circles that get smaller and smaller is the way that I mow the lawn.
Okay. There you go.
That's it. 29 minutes.
No further questions, Your Honor. No further questions, Your Honor.
Happy hour done.
Segue. Violet
What's
from
the segue?
I can't read your.
What's the fucking topic
outlet.
today?
Did you have a further question?
No.
No more questions.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, that's great. I guess we'll talk about Dragon Con at a later time because there's
I
no
did
time
want to
left
know
for
about. I
extra.
did have
2 minutes
a non-lawn question about the friend that Chuck has brought today.
You're fielding questions about any topic, please. Mezcal here. Yes, Mezcal is the official plushie of Dragon Con this year that does multiple duties. Very cute sleeping dragon will sleep anywhere. Can be a neck pillow. Likes to hang around the neck. If you have hemorrhoids, also take a similar shape and very relaxing on the buttocks. So, but yeah. So, at the I promised that she could get some screen time. She is named after our beverage of the con this year, Mezcal. So, cheers to Mezcal and happy hour.
Cheers to happy hour. Cheers to Dragon Con.
I may have an extra one that may end up being a giveaway at some point, at some time, anywhere. Not Mezcal. I would never do that to you. It's okay. But I may have acquired an extra one. We can make it as a giveaway at some point in time for anybody who is not able to attain one of the limited edition 2024 Dragon Con plushies. But yes, thank you for asking. She thanks you for asking. When I wake her up, I will tell her. That's all the news that there is to report. There will be probably multiple things done later. Pictures will probably be posted to our Discord. So if you want to join our Discord, I can tell you all about the Muppets of the House Tully and the Kings of the Carpet and the Samurai and all of the other fantastic things that happened, and Mickey. the scariest the scariest Steamboat Willie in the universe.
It is
you know,
indeed horrifying. Absolutely horrifying.
it's delightfully horrifying. It is a masterpiece of horror. But that is a story for another time on another day. Today's story is actually about those who won't really want to tell a story. And sometimes when you're writing your backstory, you get so involved in the specifics and the details in your backstory that rather than just let them inspire your character and be in a character and tell the tale, a player may want to feed those details in and spill them out anywhere and everywhere. And that's a problem I've come across playing with different people at a table. And I want to start with Jacob over here. As a dungeon master, what are things that you like to do to when you encounter that problem during session and things that may happen before session? What are the different places you've seen it, and how have you been able to deal with it?
Yeah, it's a little bit main character syndrome-y, I guess would be the colloquial term for it. It's not the end of the world, but it is something that does affect players' enjoyment and the flow of the story. A good session 0 will always fix everything. However, you don't always get a good session 0. Sometimes you just jump straight into the chaos. Sometimes the best thing to do can be get it done, get it out the way. If you have a suspicion that this is going to be what a player wants to do, sometimes the best thing to do is to let them go for it. Let them go for it as early as possible and move on. I found that more than often is the solution, can be the solution. Sometimes it's a justification. You don't have to read too far into it, but sometimes it's a justification for actions. Sometimes it's an unintentional kind of aggrandizing of the work they've put in. No matter what it is, if you're a player, know that player that's doing it does not intend to pull focus, does not intend to sap the energy or sap the speed of things. It's a part of the game that they really enjoy. Which we've always got to remember. People enjoy certain parts of it. And if you can get that person to get in and enjoy that part and move on, then great. So often with a character introduction, some people like to say class and subclass and all that sort of stuff. Great, go for it. Some people like to give away as little as possible. That's absolutely fine. So I think to the point where Chuck on a separate Discord server will often hide what he's playing from other players so that they don't try to kind of work around him, which is very, very fun. But yeah, I will say if you're a DM, let the players do what they find fun, but remember, not everyone's fun is everyone's fun. So do what you can to let that player have fun, but also let them know that there is more than just them in this game. Try to hook up another NPC with them. Often, if you are quite an intelligent or intuitive player, you may also clock a player that's doing that. I would encourage you, rather than back off and not engage a little bit, so that they know that they've been heard and that they can continue on. Quite often, that's all that player wants to know is have another player or an NPC say, "Oh yeah, I know the outer, I know the upper plane of Mount Celestia. I had my mother contacted me from there," and they'll be like, back and forth, done, and they'll move on. Again, it's not a cure-all; it doesn't always work. But again, do your best to accommodate them. And if you accommodate them, that often gets the problem over and done with, rather than resisting, and that drags through the whole game. Then again, there are some players in some scenarios where it's just there's not much you can do about it. It will shine through constantly and consistently, especially with online play. It's hard when people are talking over the top of each other, and in that case, there is just a duty for you, the DM, to clock which players are not enjoying that, and just know not to pop them together. And always have open and frank dialogue with your players. If they don't fit the group, you're better off saying, hey, no offense, but you don't quite fit this group. I'll try fit you in somewhere else. Or if it is a scenario recently with an actual problematic player, don't feel bad saying, hey, none of that's acceptable. Get out of my game. So you're very, you have to be responsible as a DM because some players don't feel comfortable enough to speak up, and you can watch them start to wither away over the course of the 2 to 4 hours, and you don't want that. So, yeah.
I have a hard time expressing my opinion often.
In game or in real life?
Never, ever.
Because I'm trying to figure out.
It's like, who does? When? Where?
I'm trying to figure out what kind of persona you're trying to give to the people at home.
Yeah, well, I mean, but there's a line in there because Rook, you were recently in we talked about our last topic.
Indeed,
was,
our last discussion last week, Jacob, was about the situation where in our brief message back and forth with your one shot a couple weeks ago, the people in that session were trying really hard to find a way to make my tongueless guy speak, right? And in the messages back and forth, I said, yo, I want to use charades to communicate. Like, it's cool. It's okay. And they came up with a way to kind of hose me. Does that make sense? You know, like they really did. And it threw me off so much that, like, I didn't do too much role play at all because I was like, whoa, like, I don't even know how to be this person now that they can speak again. And that sucks.
Yeah.
However, I didn't want to take his agency as a psychically, a soul knife rogue or whatever. I didn't want to take his agency away just because he took mine away. So that was kind of our topic of discussion last week, actually.
That's interesting because there is he probably thought he was aiding either me as a DM or aiding the rest of the group, and probably wasn't aware that you had tricks up your sleeve to communicate. At the same time, that was not his choice to make, obviously, but he extended the olive branch and you took it, to your credit. The other thing being, you're going to come into a game with players you don't know, and they are going to shake up what you think you are playing and what you think you want to play. And when that happens, you can either push back against it or do what you did and be like, all right, it's not quite what I was vibing or going for, but I will ride along with it. And now, in that certain case, that perhaps the open communication, again, is the thing. Perhaps next time we say, hey, I'm not going to communicate at all, and I won't be able to communicate psychically either. So that's, again, session zeros, or the text channel at the beginning. Is it's tough to get across when you haven't played with someone that I'm not being problematic. This is actually a character choice that I'm interested in exploring, and the DM is okay with it. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and the way we ended that message thread was I was saying, hey, this is okay. We don't have to deal with this. I'm willing to move forward. But I never said, don't fix this problem for me, right? Like, I never said, never went to the extreme to say, this is what I want to do. Don't fix this, right? So then, it was...
We want to fix problems and solve puzzles and patterns. So
But to Chuck's credit, that's why you never hear anything other than Chuck is a waiter or a painter or whatever, right? Like, you never hear any of that, because if I'd have never said any of that, we probably wouldn't have even had a soul knife in the group.
Yeah. Right. Well, maybe or maybe not, but I think there's a good chance that they were. If they were leaning one between two choices, this one will fit better because it solves a problem that it seems like we have. Just like people want to be, we don't have a tank in this party. Let me solve that problem. Well, with me, you don't know what you have in the party, so don't worry about trying to solve anything. Typically, that's my preference, is to not do that and just we don't need to be perfect. We don't need to be filling all these roles. And similarly, I think one of the big things. If you notice this as a player, or somebody noticed this and tells it to you as a player, you don't need, you write that backstory, and it can be a great 45-page backstory because you like to write, and this is a novel you're working on, and you're playing the main character, and great, you can write that the whole thing, whatever you want, and that's obviously an exaggeration, but you can write this big story, and then that influences who the character is, and you can play that character without explaining all of the things that happen to them that make them the way they are. And that's I think that's the big difference. That's what I find when people write those stories and then they're like, oh, well, I'm doing this because of that.
Yeah.
Or they play a class and it's like, oh, I'm doing this and I'm rolling intelligence because I'm an artificer or whatever. You don't ever feel like you have to explain yourself. Create that backstory as a character and then play that character and do what you do.
Especially in a one-shot situation, right? Like, feel free to explore a lot of that backstory around the campfire in a campaign over time. But in a one-shot situation, everyone needs to do their due diligence to remember that there are 5-6 of you playing, and everyone isn't going to get the time to explain everything about who they are.
You also, sorry, go ahead, Violet.
I was just saying, I think the one shot versus campaign is a big issue where I think this can come up is especially when people are more accustomed to playing in a longer campaign and they like building characters that way that are these like deep complex characters. Not that you can't do that for a one shot, but that they can write these long backstories and have all these like explanations for like this person has all these like complicated reasons why they do these quirky things, and it'll be interesting to tell people about it. And, that can come out over the course of a campaign and be wonderful. And I think it's hard when you're used to that to rein it in and figure out how to accommodate a one shot where you're like, well, I built my complex and interesting character and now I have like 25 minutes like to tell you all about everything about them. Like, because like you said, there's only so much time divided among so many people, and and I think that can be a difficult shift for some people, and maybe part of where this happens is not knowing how to change the balance.
It's along the lines of character creation is gamified now, and that's thrilling for some people, which is great. Same with the backstory, but we lose the idea that the why is not interesting. The what you do and how you do it is what's interesting and is what shows your character. It's far more interesting for you to do something and us discover perhaps why later or not discover at all. You don't need to justify. You don't need to explain. You play what you're playing and enjoy it. You don't need to justify or explain. You can go with whatever it is you're doing without feeling like you need to everyone needs to know.
Yeah, and I feel like this is something, Rook, you've talked about before as part of, I don't know if you've talked about it here or not, but as part of like your character creation processes, you like to have a lot of stuff figured out about your character, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a part of the game at all. You just need to know that to be able to play the character.
Where I came from and what I did along the way, every step of the way. Yes, that's it. The other thing I want to touch on while we're talking about this and not lose this before I forget it, because I will, is
every time.
Yes, that was. Did you cough?
Sorry.
Bless you.
He's forgotten.
Yeah, exactly. No, when you're playing. If you're playing one of those classes that happens to affect other people, right? Like if you have a reaction that affects and influences other people's actions or things like that, when you're in a one shot especially, be aware that you're in a one shot and so has their time in the spotlight. You don't really want to overshadow that moment. So don't Think about that when you're choosing subclasses that influence other people's things. At one point I played whomever the fuck was controlling Evangeline. I don't even remember the actual character's name, only the doll's name, because that's the only thing that was important, right? But
Mhm.
we specifically talked.
Carlac or Carrack.
Yeah,
Carrack.
Carrack. That's yeah, that guy. It's very important to remember that my whole intention was to use his concentration to enlarge someone and make them spindle arm, spindle man, if you will, and creepy and whatever. But we talked about it in the Discord chat beforehand, and I said, "Yo, I'm gonna do some body augmentation on people. Is everyone okay with that? Is anyone not okay with that? We had some discussions beforehand because again, taking that player's agency away from them and changing what they thought that they were is never a good idea.
Mhm.
And so if I'm in the middle of my moment and I'm a fighter that's about to action search and, drop a big bomb on something, I don't need you to react in the middle of my turn and be like, yo, I'm going to do this to help you out. Yo, this is my moment, man. Like, don't do that.
I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's more than just mechanical too. It's like it's not that you can't, play a character with abilities that support that are a support class or something like that, where you are affecting other people. But yeah, it's hard, and I think a lot of this conversation, it's really there's a lot of intuition that goes into it, and just sort of being really aware of what's going on and how people are what people are enjoying and not enjoying and that sort of thing. And yeah, when having that sense of like this person is having their dramatic moment, and you're working as a team, you can still step in and offer an assist, but do it more subtly. Like, don't steal the spotlight necessarily to do that. But a lot of this is so, I don't know. It requires a lot of intuition, which can be really difficult. I think it's really easy for people to just maybe they just don't see that moment, and they just see, oh, hey, here's an opportunity for me to help, and they just totally over their head. They don't realize, oh, you were having a moment there for your character. I don't know. It's really tricky. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, reading the room is definitely
Yeah.
part of it, and it helps when you play with people for over longer periods of time. When it's a one shot, you've never met people before, you're at a conference or you're at Dragon Con and sitting down to play with people you've never played with before and a DM you've never played with before. Try and think them first, you second, I think is the best way to do that. And like we were saying for the main topic, try to not explain about your character and make everything about you, whether
Ask
it's
questions
doing
about
the
the other characters,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And if they want to know more about your own backstory, then they're going to ask them. I think that's
and
I always
and,
feel
and
like one of the best ways to have a positive experience with D&D or any TTRPG, like for you and for everyone at the table, is just like be like a fan of the other characters and players at the table. Be excited to hear about them. If you are only interested in talking about your character, then you're not coming into it with the right attitude, really. It's good to be excited about your character, of course, but you should also be genuinely interested in what the other characters are and what they're doing.
Yeah, and leave space for them to ask about your characters, because getting back to that topic of, hey, I'm this and that, and here's what happened in my life, and that's why I'm doing this, and that's why I'm doing the other. That's out of character talking about your character versus role playing your character and leaving opportunities for other people to ask and say and explain things if it comes up. If it doesn't come up, you let it go. There's no questions. If you've talked with the DM before and you have a thing that you want to introduce, let the DM introduce that and through an NPC or through something, and not through you trying to trying to tell the whole story. I think that's a crucial thing.
Definitely communication with your DM. And if you're the kind of player that wants to get their, all their their character abilities out there and use them and get them off, then find the table that's going to have that mechanic that's going to facilitate that. If you're playing with someone, like, do your research on your DM if possibly, and be like, oh, this is going to be an irreverent romp, and we're going to have a lot of referential humor and silly stuff, and we still get to do a little bit of this and that. Great. But if you're looking for a smaller table with like more combat heavy stuff, then seek out that. Try and find whatever game gels with you. And if the game's not gelling with you, you're welcome to sit back and do what you can to enjoy the rest of it, but also know that it's not for you. If you're not having a good time, try not to let that sully anyone else's time as well. Conversely, see, if it is about listening with your eyes and your ears and taking in what everyone's experiencing at the table. You need to be a great listener to be a great improviser, but also to be just a great scene partner or partner at the table. And make space for everyone is a big thing. Yeah.
No sullying. You hear that? There will be no sullying. It's a great word. It's fantastic.
Sullying's a great word.
Are there any other so that's like the story writer? Is there like another typical thing that you see time after time that we talk a little bit about like interrupting, and there are people that talk over other people consistently. Is there a way to deal with that, or is there something else that you've seen frequently at the table, Jacob?
There's power gaming. There's power gaming. The best way to handle power gaming, I found, is to let them do their thing. We had a scenario in a game that I've played with one of you where one of the characters has a ridiculous foot speed. And there was a chase that happened, and I just logically, the chase started and finished. Start, done. They won. And you go, that's it. And the player was curious as to why we didn't do a chase. I said, you've made it so that your speed is impossible to match. So you win that kind of scenario. So we won't be doing that sort of thing, unfortunately, or fortunately, up to you. So not being a dick about it, but also being like, hey, if this is what you enjoy doing, the challenge is what you enjoy doing, then make sure you're challenged. If you're not challenged, I will do my best to challenge you. But in certain scenarios, it is near impossible to do that. So challenging power gamers in an entertaining way is a lot of fun. I had a guy that was a booming blade master, so I created this geometrical fight where things would copy and shadow the other players, so he was having a ball with that. And then the next combat, he was seized up with a bunch of whole persons. So like give and take. So then he had to think, okay, I've min-maxed this way. Maybe I need to think about progressing in a different way with my character. Or the better option, ask your fellow players for help, your fellow characters for help. Don't look to fill every role in the party. Do what you're going to do and let everyone else come in. Trust that your party is going to aid you in some way. Power gamers, let them do what they're going to do and know that they just want to have fun as well. But don't put so much energy in that you're only trying to challenge them. If you pour all your energy into that player, then the rest of the players will feel that, and you definitely need to balance it out. And if it means that player gets to auto win a bunch of scenarios, then so be it. You'll find other ways to challenge them and play with them. And if they're good players, they'll also jump on other scenarios, as that player has been very good in other ways. So,
yeah. We had we had another similar, in the opposite vein. We had another interesting scenario in one of our tables, Jacob, where it was like, hey, you start at the start of the thing. Hey, this enemy is approaching. It's going to take me a minute to cast this spell, which would be really beneficial. So just hold them off. Oh, just let me hold them off.
That's right.
For 1 minute. And we actually made it through, and it worked. and one of the other players was like, man, I've never seen that work before in online games and televised games and all that. I've never seen that actually work before, and it took everybody working as a complete team to get it to work, and that could be very satisfying when you're really working together as a group.
Yeah. Teamwork makes the dream work in every scenario, including players that kind of go, oh, I don't know why I'm talking to this character. I don't have the high charisma. It's because your character thought to talk to them. Don't worry about it. Keep going. Yeah. Like, even if you have no charisma, you still talk to people. Most people still talk to people. So
I think maybe especially people with low charisma.
Except Rook's character. Rook's character doesn't talk to anyone.
For sure. Well, no, I talk to everyone because that's the way we roll. But it's interesting, right? Like we played that game, and there were several players that wanted to scout and wanted to do their thing, and I was sitting there playing a scout. A rogue scout with expertise in stealth and expertise in survival and expertise in investigation and expertise in perception. And what did I do? I sat there and flirted with the orc chick and let them do their thing. And that's what they wanted to do. That's what
you
they
didn't
felt.
Flirt with the orc chick. You were flirting with me.
Yes.
The truth comes out.
You're right.
You're right.
I
didn't say, "Oh, I've got the higher."
Yeah. I didn't say one time. I didn't say, "Oh, well, I'm better at that than you." I just flirted with Jacob instead, and we'll do so again because I love to do so.
I expect it. I expect it in every game. To that point, you don't have to snoop around your fellow characters' character sheets to figure out what they're good at and what they're not. Feel free to chat about that in game. If you do feel like, oh, I'm slightly better at that, you can shout out and be like, oh, can I give him a hand because I've got expertise in this? Or you can find a character driven way to be like, oh, I wander over and just kind of look over your shoulder. And if that player is clocking, they might look over and be like, what are you doing there? It's like, oh, I took a course on bear shit, so I know which sort of bears. Find creative ways to interact.
Yeah, I mean,
and to get that
it wasn't a big
across,
deal, right? Like I'm sitting there and I'm playing a character that has expertise in 8 skills or something stupid, ridiculous, right? I don't need to showcase that. Right, I don't need to do that.
Showcase anything.
Everyone else is like, "Hey, I can do this. Hey, I can do that." Okay, go ahead, go do that thing. Hey, this seems important. Hey, I'll help out. And
it's also being the character that again. I play weird themed characters that often have nothing to do with their abilities or whatever, and somebody's off doing something and knowing, hey, that's probably something I'm really good at, but you know what, you go ahead and do that and then evaluate after it. So how'd that turn out? Was that good? Did you have fun with it? That was a different way than I do it. Could you tell me a little bit more about how that was going to work? And it's interesting. It gives you more things to talk about to other characters.
It's also really funny if the person who's bad at it does it and fails, and then you just walk up and you're like, oh.
Or the person who's bad at it rolls really well, and then you want to make them do it every time. Oh no, they're good at that. Just go ahead. That worked great. Last time,
we've talked
but even
about
if you
this,
do want
Violet, we've talked about that in a previous previous happy hour as well, right? Like I play in a game with Jack where the barbarian with an 8 charisma is the face of the party.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there with a plus 11 in persuasion. I don't step up and talk over him. I just sit back and hey, you do your thing, man.
Yeah, I think we were talking about this. There's a campaign that I was in where we had a rogue who was really, their perception was trash, and they were just horrible at spotting traps, and we always sent them in to look for traps all the time. We were like, yeah, go check it out. He only ever found them by setting them off. It was horrible, but it was hilarious.
That's old school.
Is the point.
Yeah.
No,
But yeah,
it's
it doesn't. But
fantastic.
also, if you do like to, I mean, some people do want to like showcase the thing that they're really good at, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. Of course, that's part of the fun of playing a fantasy character who has amazing abilities that you don't have in real life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a really good point to sort of try to do it in character, to not necessarily do that thing where out of character you're like, I have a plus whatever to this. Like, yeah, think about what does that mean for your character? Like, why are they good at that thing? And how might they interject here to how might they let people know that they're good at that thing? You know,
Yeah.
I think that's a much better way of managing it, and I think it goes over better with the group in general because you're not saying I'm going to take this task. You're playing out story with the other characters. You know, it involves everyone when it becomes a conversation.
Yeah, but also don't be afraid to fail. I think at least once a session you should. I mean, at least I do. Once a session, try and do something my character is not good at, and has a pretty good chance they're going to fail at, because that's where the interesting comes in. Succeeding all the time, you build these characters and we build this party. Okay, and we've got every skill covered. You do all of the survival checks. You do all of the persuasion stuff. You do all of the strength-based stuff, and it's never interesting when the person with the most chance of success always rolls. And it's not never interesting because I'm rolling a natural one, ha ha, it was funny, move on. But for the most part, it's not interesting to always do the stuff that succeeds. You do the stuff that makes sense.
Like in our Dark Legion game where I kept trying to steal shit. I wasn't good at that at all. I was like a cleric. I was like, I don't know. It just seemed like the thing to do at the time. So I did it. And I failed really badly at it. But it was funny. So
Indeed.
The Nat 1s are more interesting than the Nat 20s more often.
Every time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Every time. Yeah. Well, with that, it is getting a little later on in the evening, and some of us have parties to get to. So,
wow.
With that, I think we can wrap up this edition of the Happy Hour. And one more thing, we cannot quite wrap up this edition of the Happy Hour.
Who drinks on the house, Chuck? Who drinks on the house?
I think dragons drink on the house this week, but
I think dragons always drink on the house.
No, not at this house. You can't just be, I've got a dragon on my mother's side. I'm 645th dragon. Where are my free drinks? No. Actual dragons, especially sleeping dragons, may drink on the house this week. And next week, we'll find out if possibly, maybe, home repair lawnmower technicians might possibly be given the opportunity to drink on the house.
Maybe.
I'm gonna get to drink on the house if I repair my lawnmower.
Only if you do it successfully. Yes.
Yes.
That's the deal.
To be fair, I was honest. I said I repaired it. It works, not well.
Well,
technically, the people you paid also repaired it not well. Touche.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go rethink life decisions, and to the rest of you all.
With that, we bid you good night, and remember, hit points are not required to enjoy a tasty beverage.
Oh my, that was excessive for sure.